going to be moving on to the meat and vegetables of this show tonight, and that what? No,
which one of us is the vegetables, Scott?
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, I think we've always established that Scott has two tiny pieces, so I think we can.
Yes, you did the two veg. Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm going to be passing over to Scott Tiny Pieces to conduct this interview with our wonderful Grant. So, Scott, do you want to take it away?
Thank you, James Lockhart. Hello, Grant Howitt. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I've just written my first solo journaling game.
You haven't.
I have.
Stop
I broke. I'm 52 one-page games in, and I was like, you know what? What game do I actually want to write? And I wrote a heartbreaking game about depression, finally. So I'm just sort of recovering from that.
Oh, that's nice. What do you do in said game?
You play a fetch. So a made-up person who the fairies left in place of a child they stole away.
Oh.
And you uncover the fact that you're not real, and you swear to burn down the fairy kingdom. And it's grim, you know. It's the changeling the lost story I always wanted to tell, except they made the true fae completely invulnerable. No, in this one you have to kill him. You have to tell me how, and then write it down. It's great.
Amazing.
It's
quite cathartic. That sounds cathartic.
Oh, I hope so. Yes.
It does sound cathartic. And kudos to Matt for saying a changeling just before he said that. It's like, yeah, there we go. So we've got some Fey knowledge. That kind of sounds like the plot of a really cool indie game that could come out, like a platformer, like Hollow Knight or something like that. You know?
Yeah, there's certainly Hollow Knight influences. I always thought Hollow Knight was really charming in the way it did story, by just sort of did it in that Dark Souls way. You know, it just sort of puts it there. Or even Dark Souls has that, and there was the War of the Dragons and 10,000 lightning, and that happens. But in Hollow Knight, you're just sort of there, and it gets progressively sadder as you go. And I really like that.
Yeah, I haven't touched Hollow Knight, mainly because I don't want to get hit in the feels. I get the feeling it's quite a feelsy kind of game, and I'm like, similar with some
only if you like things. Do you like things?
I've not been known to like some things.
Yeah.
Gilets, I'm quite big on.
That is your first error, Scott. You should never like things.
Never
care, Scott.
But that's interesting. Thanks for telling us about that, Grant. And thanks for coming on, by the way. You're
no worries.
A busy chap these days. Thanks for being here. You are a busy chap these days. You've been doing lots of stuff, haven't you?
I'm glad I give that impression. I've mainly been sitting, staring out my window, trying to remember what it is to feel.
I'm pretty sure that was an album by Finch. What it is. You've been mainly staring out your window with your majestic urban fey antlers of cigarette hands. Look at that. You might as well just have horns as well. A top hat.
I could put the horns on. I don't know how much James is dressed up because I can't see him.
Not much today, actually. No, normally I do, but I don't normally dress up a little bit more than I have. But
James wearing enough eyeliner to be the same amount of black that I have on. James probably has on his eyes.
I know. Okay. I normally wear eyeliner. I was sort of a bit put off because I
got dressed up, James. You're not putting the eyeliner on.
No, I didn't put the eyeliner on.
I always wear a scarf, but still.
I am wearing a She-Ra t-shirt at the very least, which you should all watch. The new She-Ra. It's very, very good.
Should make it clear, viewers, we can't see James.
No, they can't see me. So
James is a mystery.
I'm actually naked. Which would be horrific enough. But I normally do dress up a little bit more. But I managed to twinge my back earlier, and it's I found it quite painful. So I decided to forego that. So there we go. But who are we interviewing tonight? Me? No.
Yeah. A brief detour on to James. Grant, we worked together last summer on a games development workshop where we played Gods, didn't we? Not to give ourselves any more airs.
Yes. Chloe's playtest game.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the plot crux of that game's development is that we ended up giving our civilizations very darkly powerful artifacts that ended up bringing about their near ruin. I think my deity was in charge of like the winter, so obviously I gave him a hack Russian accent. I do remember a heated conversation with your deity and one of the other players who you were arguing about getting. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it the Sword of Family Killing?
That sounds like
MB.
Hey kids,
You look
tired of dad?
Was your pitch for it? I think
that sounds like the sort of thing I'd say when I was trying to make a group of people think I was funny. So yeah, definitely. Especially a group of people who I didn't quite know and Chloe, and being like, yeah, this sort of family killing. Do you like me yet?
so but on that launch pad of cursed artifacts, how is Sin looking? It's done very well on a Kickstarter. Before going further into Sin, it's worth saying you can't talk about this unless we talk about how insanely ridiculously well it is done on Kickstarter.
Yes, we've done very well.
Just staggering.
So just for anyone who doesn't know what Sin is, I write role-playing games. I wrote a role-playing game called Spire. Sin is the latest source book for Spire, which we're doing in Kickstarter. And it's always nice to run out of stretch goals. And it's always faintly terrifying because, like, it's not... When we put out the initial stretch goals, it's not like a joke. We just figure that's how much is going to come in. And, yeah, we're 2 weeks in now. 2 weeks in today, actually. And we had to come up with 2 new stretch goals, one of which involves, well, it's very elaborate, but we're going to make a, you know how in the Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing where Charlie's got all the red string and the pictures of it's kind of one of those. Our GM's kit comes with like pictures of mysterious people and locations, and all you need is your own red string, and we're giving you ways to sort of connect them up into a weird conspiracy murder board.
Great.
But yes, the Kickstarter's going very well. It's been lovely. It's the first book which has been majority written by other people rather than me and Chris, because Chris and I are working on the next thing and the thing after that, and we're trying to sort of gear up a little bit of the business, which means that the actual making words go on pages, we're now ready to trust other people to. And it's been really exciting with so many brilliant writers giving really interesting perspectives on like from a bunch of different backgrounds and identities, and saying, well, what does overthrowing an unjust government mean to you? And then let them play around in that. And it's we broke 70k, I think. 68k, I think.
So you requested, you were looking for £17,000. Mm-hmm. To date, you have £68,967.
Okay. So 17 is how much we need, or we lose money. I would also like to stress. Oh, also one thing I want to stress for anyone.
Left, mate. You got 2 weeks left.
Anyone, but like we're gonna get. Nothing's gonna happen till the last 2 days. Nothing happens till the last 2 days. I would like to stress to everyone as well. No matter how high that number goes up, my monthly income does not change. I am on a fixed salary from a business I own, so that just stays the same. What that means is I can continue drawing money for longer. So if you see me on a yacht, I'm borrowing it.
I feel like that excuse has already been pre-planned a little bit there, Grant. It's almost like you've had to come up with this one before in an interview. You've been grilled about income. Interesting.
This isn't the first yacht I've backpedaled ever.
What tax year is this? Interesting. Very good. No, yeah, but seriously, well done on this Kickstarter. Yeah, you tweeted something about it. Is it a record?
For us, yeah. It's a we funded in 46 minutes. I think like Strata, which was the last source book we did, funded in 4 hours, and it had a lower goal. Like the community who have come out to support us every time we've done something have been absolutely tremendous, and like we've been really keen to foster that community and encourage it and help people come together and talk about their own Spire and their own games and give each other advice and tips. And it's been like, since we did Spire and got the Discord running, it's been a completely different experience from before that. Because before that, we didn't have a shared world which people could get into. And off the back of Spire, we were able, like, Heart would not have been as successful without the support that Spire had. Heart is our spin-off game about dungeon crawling in a mad sort of dream dungeon, but it's made out of meat and teeth. It's a bad scene. But like, they're playing that on... Oh, can I swear on this podcast? I don't know. Are we allowed?
You can, yep.
Okay.
I'm just saying that dungeon sounds like my local nightclub growing up. But yeah, go on.
They're playing it on Friends at the fucking table.
I saw that, yeah.
Right? And I mean, they've changed all the setting, which was the bit which I had a big hand in. But they're playing it. And they're doing such a good job with it as well. It's really beautiful to listen to. And they are like, that is a benediction at that point, to have Austin Walker descend from actual play heaven and say, yes, we will play your game, small indie company. And then you just like, oh, I better get some bigger trousers, put all this fucking money in then.
Put it all on your harem pants, mate.
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, it falls at the bottom. That's the issue. You've got to get the ones with the, you've got to tie them up.
Yeah, no, that is amazing though, and to talk about Sin a little bit more.
Yes, I should do. Yes,
you've got three meaty chunks to talk about. I do also want to talk about Harp. I'm going to come back to the minute.
Oh yeah. This is a Sin promotional threat. Everyone go back Sin. Yeah, there we are. Carry on.
Yeah, do you know what? I skipped off the bat. I'm going to go back to the page with the artwork on. We have some of the artwork here for everyone to look at, and the art looks great.
By the amazing Adrian Stone.
Yes, by the amazing Adrian Stone. Very, very good indeed.
Which I'm also kind of featuring as well with my sort of like egg-shaped visage in the way. But you can kind of see this as well. This is a bit picture of the Vermissian, the failed mass transit network underneath the city of Spire, which was the setting for the Executioner's one shot that I played with Curry Mashter and others. Which for those of you who don't know, the Executioners have a high-end ability. You can use once per campaign to remove a word from either your character sheet, a word or phrase from either your character sheet or from the game rules themselves. Which is just like we just wanted to see what 5 people did with it. And we were all too scared, like walking around with WMDs. We were like too scared to use them until the very end. We ended up getting rid of, what's the name of the machine in your world that pumps out lies?
Oh, the anastomosis device.
That's right. So it was all based around that. We removed we removed the fact that it told lies.
Which is truth or just as neutral?
Well, that was just it. It ended up creating more problems for us long term until eventually, finally, one of us edged round, finally getting to just removing the term executioners from everything, which got rid of us, got rid of our purpose, got rid of all the bad things that we'd inadvertently done, and nicely ended the one shot. But yeah, so that was this back here anyway. That's just some of the fun you can have in Spire and Heart. But Sin focuses on 3 chunky bits. The 3 main chunks you're focusing on seem to be crime, order, and religion. Is that right?
They are, yes. We have the first source bit we did was Strata, which had low and high society, because there was lots of I think my favorite bit about Spire is describing Elfir society. So Elfir are high elves, and they are the colonialist rulers of Spire, and you play the drow or dark elves who are trying to overthrow them. And I've always been, ever since I read Lords and Ladies by Terry Pratchett, I've been fascinated by the idea of fairies who are cruel. And cruel, like almost in a way that they don't understand that they're being cruel, and the way that it's possible to view yourself as such a higher form of life that you don't perceive other. It fascinates me. So I really like talking about weird, degenerate nobles. That really does it for me. I love describing ridiculous culture in that way. And actually, I'm going to take back the use of the word degenerate, because that implies this you know what, the Elfir are bad. We'll go with bad nobles.
We can all accept this. I mean, being English people, we of course would have no idea of degenerate nobles. We wouldn't have any idea of what those people, kind of people are.
Not a jot, sir.
No source Victorian London at all.
So we did that in Strata, and in this one it was crime and order, and then we realized the book wasn't long enough, so we put in religion. And religion is, for anyone who's played Spire, it's a huge part of Spire. I think there's a running gag that every class in Spire is kind of a cleric, and every class in Spire is kind of a Heart is kind of a warlock. But our relationship to the gods and to belief in general is something that I've always been very interested in. Again, Pratchett's Small Gods, the way he talked about sort of religions forming gods rather than the other way around. And so this was a wonderful opportunity for me to say, okay, listen, here's 3 pages of ideas for everyone. We're going to hire some writers that we give a shit about. And the majority of the writers we've hired haven't had any experience in role-playing games before, which is, like, viewed from the outside a risk, because obviously you'd think that you want people with experience, you want people who've written loads of games before. But actually what I wanted, and what Chris and I worked towards, my co-author Chris Taylor, who's been instrumental in all this, we wanted people who got Spire, who understood, like, who got the joke, as it were, because there is something funny about Spire. There is something innately ridiculous and silly, and there's a line which you can sort of waver either side of. And so we recruited people from like people who've written like adventures for us in the past. The chap who wrote the crime section is called JP Bradley, and he's never like his only published credit is us in the previous book we released. But he just got Spire in such a way, like, yeah, okay, cool, go. And so we gave him crime. And he's done such a fascinating thing with it. He's got this real passion for talking about the Knights of the North Docks. We have this bit in Spire. The knights used to be these sort of noble protectors of traders and craftsmen in the North Docks. And then over the last 200 years since Elfir occupation came in, there are a bunch of legally armed gangsters who run mafioso-style protection rackets out of pubs, and each one is their own knightly order. And JP has just gone for that. He's sold it. It's beautiful. We've got a chap called Bashir Gauss doing order, and then religion. We have about 8 people involved because of some scheduling conflicts.
Got a whole host of your own small gods there. The knights are some of one of my favorite concepts about the book initially, and in that in itself, the chart from once being noble protectors to then just basically thugs with heraldry again does kind of chart our own history, like European histories around the Middle Ages. That is kind of what happened to a lot of knightly orders, lofty ideals, and ended up just being basically petty thieves and crooks.
I nodded there like I knew. I didn't know that. I'm really glad that I lucked upon that. That's brilliant. I thought I was being very original.
Were you not there?
I wasn't present at the time.
But yeah, that is super interesting. Is it like, having written something, the process of then handing it over? What's that like?
It's been a slow process. We released Spire in 2017, I think, it came out. Like initially, like we had the Kickstarter in 2017, and initially I wouldn't have anyone else write for it, and then we had other people write scenarios, and then from that we kind of got a measure of which of our scenario writers are like incredible scenario writers, and we're super happy to have them on board. Like they're creating incredible content, and the ones who get Spire. So it's like a secret. There's like a second secret interview, which people are going through once we've hired them. Where we're like, yeah, but do you get it though? Do you understand it? And some of them do, which has been fascinating. The religion section we had some scheduling conflicts, and unfortunately the original writer we hired wasn't able to do the whole thing due to the year we had last year. I don't know whether anyone noticed
that little thing.
Yeah. So like. No, zero bad blood there whatsoever. But we had to hire some more writers, so we did a call out on Twitter, and we sort of had a shout around. And it was fascinating to see like people get in touch and say, "Here are the things which I've done. Do you like these?" And also like looking at people and seeing like what kind of perspective can they bring on this? What like we have a writer called Cleo Kahana, who is from I don't know whether the phrase is right, an indigenous tribe in North America, and we've got them to write about the importing of home nation religions from old drow countries, which are sort of being doubly stamped out across the board. And it's been really interesting to take people who have to talk to people who have experience culturally, who have experience in their identity or in their own personal experience with the topics which we're dealing with, rather than like a lot of like me and the other co-authors. Mainly, our ancestors did the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been hugely invaluable to bring in other viewpoints and perspectives and raise up other writers.
Yeah, that in itself is kind of what like collaborative storytelling is all about, should be about going forward as well, as about people telling stories from different walks of life and different backgrounds. You're only going to get a richer story and a better tapestry that way, I think. And that off the back of you, just like, although the scheduling conflicts happen, and obviously that must have been a pain, you had the silver lining. You got to hire more writers. You got to work with more people.
Like, honestly, it's tremendous. It's really exciting. We've got Helen Gould, who does stuff on Rusty Quill, who's written all about like the sort of militarist black bloc firebrand end of things. We've got we have a bunch of people basically whose names I'm not going to misremember live on air.
Sure, well done. Yeah, the black bloc sort of like anarchist thing. That it sounds like everyone starts off like that anyway. It sounds like
Oh yeah.
with that sort of bent anyway.
That's the joke, yeah.
Inspire,
yeah.
Um,
It's a temptation which we are providing you, and I think like a lot of the fun in Spire comes in resisting the urge to set things on fire because the game supports it.
Yeah, I very much felt like that when I was playing. It was very much the whole you could kill people and you could burn that down, and then there will be ramifications. And what's the main objective you're trying to do here? And that's going to be probably harder if you do that. But it's very much what I like about Spire is it comes across. I think it's in a China Marvel book. Is the state will adapt. You can kill the mayor. They will be replaced. And that very much echoes over into Spire as well. The state will always win. It's not the battle on the streets that you need to fight. That is there, that exists, but it's the battle of like hearts and minds. How you can change things subtly. How you can change people slowly, one bit at a time, and then the state will adapt to them, which is what I love about Spire. And then it creates a different tension because you are playing a different game. You aren't playing the rolling nat 20s to smash things in the face and make them dead forever and taking all their gold. You're playing a different, more subtle kind of game. Although the two classes that are new in Sin may not be so subtle. They are the gutter clerics and the mortician executioners. Is that right?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are very unsubtle. Well, okay. Well, it depends. We have a subtle build for the mortician. So the gutter cleric is a one of the things which we initially sold Spire as and then stopped saying because I think one person said they didn't like it and I was like, well, I'll take it away forever. Is the word fantasy punk.
Right.
And I can see why people would be like, oh, fuck off. But much like Cyberpunk is about taking technology and then punking it. So, like, viewing it in different ways. The street finds its own use for things, you know? Much like Cyberpunk is about that. We wanted to take magic and fantasy and the tropes and be like, okay, but, like, what if it had punk ideals? What if it was about overthrowing things? What if it was about changing things rather than reinforcing the status quo? And one of the things which bothers me so much about Cyberpunk is because it's about this dark future ruled by corporations. You tend to work for those corporations, which makes sense. But it's not scratching the itch, you know? It isn't doing it for me.
Doesn't feel very punk, does it?
No, and like as I think, like your intentions may be punk, but anyway, we tried to start this fantasy punk. One person on something awful said they didn't like it, and so I threw it into a bin forever. But one of the things we really like is taking D&D tropes, fantasy tropes, Warhammer tropes, like these things we've grown up with, which we accept, and then thinking about, I think, what's the line I use? I think about them for about 7 minutes. So not ages, but just long enough to be like, okay, well, what's the next thing that might happen? And so the God Hacker is that, in that, like, Spire is a city of 1,000 gods, is one of the lines we use to describe it. And so they're just sort of sweeping up, and they're taking all the unpopular gods, and the forbidden gods, and the dead gods, and they're lying to those gods to get favor from them. They don't have any actual belief or worship. It's really, they're sort of like a doorman for reality.
Right. So you're very much sort of paying like literal lip service in order to be like, I worship this. This is great. Yeah. Bring this cult back. Definitely. Yes, thank you. I'll take that blessing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Like their default sort of their core power is what's it? Back pocket communion, I think is the name of it. Is like you just find any god that will help to get mastery on the next roll. It's very much about like of appealing to petty gods and casting gods as something which is inhuman. Casting gods as something which is human, which is made up from people rather than the other way around. So that's fun. That it let us talk about the cosmology of Spire as well, which we haven't really done.
Yeah, that must have opened a veritable Pandora's box and probably ties quite heavily into your religion section of being like just how many gods have been ground underfoot, either intentionally by the Elfir or inadvertently by people of the Drow who have been and gone.
Well, we have 9 forbidden religions, and then later
9?
Yes, and then later in the sentence it's 7 forbidden religions because of a typo. So 2 of them are so forbidden they were redacted mid-sentence.
Oh my god!
But we have advances for every single one of those, and most of the 2 of them are entirely blacked out. But
and advances of the sort of class progression.
Moves in Apocalypse World terms, or I don't know what it would be in D&D, like abilities or like class abilities. Yeah, feats. And so an awful lot of the forbidden gods are either drought gods or high elf gods, which have been sort of scoured out by the high elves themselves. And so we got to try and work out, okay, what are they scared of? What are their old gods about? What are they trying to bring these new gods in to replace them with? And so it's kind of fun to take. So like in our canon, the high elves, they have a kind of weird hive mind palace on the North Pole, and then as they expand, they get more and more individualistic and mad. And so talking about like they've got the vastness above, the stillness, which is ice, the beast outside the walls, and all these really primordial gods which you can channel, which is really fun. And then because Chris and I believe that it's like I think that it's in the grand tradition of religions to steal from each other. We have the Moirai or the Crones or the Fates as our big sort of overarching gods. So we've got the Weaver, the Spinner, and the Cutter, and then because we have to have four high abilities for every class, the fourth sister, who traps you forever in a Groundhog Day style loop until you die or go mad.
That is some high end payoff there. Is that very much the theme of these games as well? Is very much the whole, you succeed at a cost and you gain progression at a cost, and ultimately, I think you say, don't you, in the Spire in the player's book, it's this will kill you.
Yeah, you're supposed to die.
Yeah, you're not getting out of this alive. This is one of the questions I'm going to ask later on. I'm going to ask it now. I'm assuming you've played in a few of campaigns of Spire.
I've run them. I've never played. I'm sorry. I've played one game of Spire.
Okay, interesting. In the campaigns that you've seen and been part of, have all of them ended in ignoble TPKs?
Riots. Everything builds to a riot all the time.
Players or characters?
Characters. The players are all getting on. There is inevitably some kind of riot, and plus I like putting drugs in my games because they're like magic items that we kind of understand as humans. Because I've never touched a magic item, but I have, So I think it's a bit more fun to sort of give players those things to pull. It's like, well, I'm going to drug everyone's beer. Great, okay, sure. It goes like you imagined it would in the movies, and everyone has a big fight. Yeah, big riots to cover insurrections, and generally quite tragic. But that's what we're all about here around Rick and Deckard. Yeah,
it does. It feels very much like that. Very tragic. And just going back on the religion thing again.
Absolutely.
When because you start off the main setting, when you were saying earlier about how everybody in Spire basically plays somewhat of a cleric, your starting point in Spire, unless you're being wacky and wild and starting as a gnoll or something, which I believe is possible in Harp. Some players, I think, talk about doing that. You can play as a human or a gnoll in Spire itself.
Don't you dare.
I've never done it.
No. I'm saying to the viewer, don't you dare sully my perfection with your ideals.
Consider yourself warned, Edgelings.
No, actually, no. Just do what you want, man. It's your Spire. Go on, have fun, yeah.
These people start off in the Ministry of Our Head and Mistress.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Already in a religious paramilitary cult. There is no way of doing it. Like, your basic starting point is you are in it, and you've done probably a few dodgy things to get here. There's no quitting and being a newspaper agent.
And you think it's fun is the other thing. Because Spire pushes heavily towards fun. As character, it gives you an unexpected amount of success, and then heavily punishes failure. And that is sort of gets this weird sort of rise and fall between joy and horror, which I quite like. The other class I should mention is the Mortician Executioner.
That was gonna be my next one, but because this person gets to declare people legally dead and then make good on that, don't they?
Yes. I wanted to talk about the principles of bureaucracy because I think it's fascinating. I used to work in pensions administration. I don't know how pensions work. I have a pension. I don't know how it works. And I didn't have a pension back then. And my job was for confused 65-year-olds would ring me up, and I'd have to break it to them. They had no money now because someone did too much cocaine in 1983. That was, and like, no, you can't speak to the guy who did too much cocaine. He's retired. He lives in Kent now, I presume. But what you have to speak to me. You got a 23-year-old who has no concept of what's going on. But sorry. So that was my job. I learned to loathe capitalism and bureaucracy, but I love the idea of bureaucracy as a power, kind of as akin to like gold or evil in Dungeons and Dragons. And so the Mortician Executioner is levered around the gag that you can declare, like, executions are illegal in Spire. If you declare someone dead and then kill them afterwards, that's legal.
Right.
Because that's inherently funny. There's a solid joke there, and like we resisted making them a class because they were too powerful, like they had too much authority, and we've managed to sort of bring it back round and change it to a point where now I feel like in the broader spread of classes they fit. We've got like a lot of limits placed on their power, like they have a special magical crossbow bolt that does huge amounts of damage, but then it writes to your boss about what it killed. And so like hoping to poke fun at these things and talk about like when you are a citizen, what benefits do you have, and then how can those be suspended and fucked with. And then, you know, later on you get to like, okay, just like we're just going to change the names on this form, so I swap my death for yours. And yeah, like celestial bureaucracy, but not in a boring, exalted way.
I see. Yes, the fundamentals of power being handed down, and changed hands, dirty backstreet dealing. Yeah, no matter how noble you are. Of course, I mean, it does beg. I mean, it sounds like it could be quite powerful, but it also does beg the question. Instantly, you think, well, what happens if you don't manage to kill that person who you declare legally dead, and they manage to go on the run? Then you got a buddy movie chase film scene.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like there is no limitation on how many people you declare dead, but you take stress for each person who should be dead but isn't.
Right. And so the stress mechanic, just to remind viewers, is the increment, it's stress that you take on various parts of your person through either failing or mainly succeeding in doing things, like, because sometimes hitting someone is stressful. That should be, you know, that feels right, you know. But yes, there's a stress mechanic in your games as well.
It's like, what if hit points did your wallet and your mind and what your mum thought of you?
I don't remember what I racked up the most stress on when I played. I think it was my reputation, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Excellent. I always forget to inflict stress on Rep. It always slips my mind. But whenever I make so the one character I ever played was a Rep tank, which is so like Spire is this very sort of, it's not touchy-feely, but it's very indie, and no one really talks about optimizing characters for optimal play. But Chris and I, we wrote it, so. Like, we can turn up with a character. Again, the one game I played, I was like, yeah, sure. I'm a knight. I have a rowboat. It's not in this scenario, but it means I can't die.
It's illegal.
And then everyone just running with that and being like, yes,
my teeth are so good, I can't die.
Speaking not of rowboats, but perhaps possibly of good teeth, you've got a few adventures in this source book as well, haven't you? You've got
some crackers
to talk about, which was called Secondhand Rain, which is just it's film noir. Straight up film noir.
Yeah, we got a chap called Chris Farnell, he's a novelist and a copywriter, and did the same degree at me at university. So we sort of keep following each other. He wasn't in my year, but we keep sort of following each other around. He did a really lovely job doing a game about it was like a small town folk horror, like a rural folk horror set in the deep gardens of the Spire, where it's like, no, this has been overgrown for 100 years. So as far as anyone knows, we're still at war with the elf here. The high point of his campaign is where the characters get tied to a big stick and set on fire. No, sorry, exsanguinated. That's the one.
Exsanguinated.
So
wonderful use of the word.
Thank you. So. We thought he was great for that. We wanted to hire him again. We wanted to try and bring someone we had experience with, because our pitch was North Docks Noir. And North Docks is the sort of the gangsters nights which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the Shite Nights hang out, yeah.
And we've really tried to Chris, my co-author, is fascinated with film noir, fascinated with pulp literature in that way, and grew up watching these really old films. And the Inksmith class from Strata is basically, because Chris is obsessed with it and because I like it, we had it in fiction that Spire is having this renaissance of pulp fiction. So there's all these really cheaply printed books with really sort of lurid tales coming out. And the Inksmith uses the zeitgeist of the populace to cast magic based on that. So like their most popular spell, the one that gets quoted a lot is Man with a Gun. You cast it, and as long as there's a door, a man or a person of any gender walks through holding a gun, and you don't get to pick who they are. But it runs off the old Raymond Chandler adage: if you don't know what to do, have a man with a gun walk into the room.
Yeah,
and so we get to
where the whole mysterious stranger thing comes from in Fallout.
Yes, precisely. So we get to fuck with the meta narrative there, and we said to Chris, "Go, okay, write it, please." And he wrote this very sort of like earnest, serious, heartfelt scenario, which was saying a lot about stuff. We're like, yeah, that's really cool, but just fuck it up with noir, yeah? And so we went back and we put in a full magic system where like you get charges on this. There's this magic item. It's the Maltese Falcon, but what if the Maltese Falcon was a demon-powered WMD?
Is the question I've always asked.
I'll sit up in bed, drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
Nothing. And you charge it up by doing noir shit, like betraying someone who loves you or getting beaten in a fight. And so it is, due to a leakage in a pipe, it is perpetually raining indoors all the time, just like in noir. And Chris has really gone down into it. I'm really impressed with what it turned out. All the scenarios are great. But noir, a Secondhand Rain, I think, has the most marketable pitch.
Nice. Very good.
Very, very good indeed. Now, I'm just going to step in at the moment because, Grant, you are so charismatic and engaging. I could literally sit here and watch you for hours and hours and hours. But we are running a little short of time. And we do have some questions from Dangerlings. But, Scott, did you want to ask another question about scenarios before we go to a question? And so if you are out there...
I've got some other stuff. Let the Dangerlings pitch in. Come on, Dangerlings.
We'll let the Dangerlings pitch in. We have had some questions. Thank you so much. If you have any more questions, we'll get them in. We did start slightly late, so we'll go slightly over 8 as well. And thank you, Steph, for the Kickstarter link right there.
Thanks, Steph.
I should go back to one of the questions that came from a very Matt. And he said, Grant, did you feel you made it more after the Danger Club played Goblin Quest or Critical Role played Crash Panda? Honest answer, please.
The honest answer? I didn't know you'd played Goblin Quest.
Splendid. The best answer ever.
You had fun though, right?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah.
I
better remember it. Grant.
Yeah,
did we play?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Okay, listen. If someone had told me about it, I'm pretty sure it would have gone in.
No, that's fair. So, it was mad, said Neo. That's absolutely true. Now, our very own Chris Alakar asks, how much did working on paranoia help with getting to grips with bureaucracy in RPGs? And he sort of asked this when you were talking about bureaucracy and your love of its incredibly befuddling and irritating ways.
It was an interesting experience. That was my first proper gig, was working on paranoia. We did that before Spire. And I was fairly new to the industry. I'd just done Goblin Quest. James Wallace took a chance on hiring me, and I'm really glad he did. I think we turned out a wonderful product, but it is difficult to work in a 3-person group with people you don't know very well over several time zones. There's a reason that book was a year late, and it wasn't me. It was a uniquely challenging experience, and honestly, not the best way that I could have come out into the industry, but I'm very proud of what we did. I think that we have a tremendous ability. We had a tremendous ability to take the idea of sort of American bureaucracy and form filling, and then transport it over to something more modern, where our computer was either Clippy from Microsoft Word or a automated bank helpline. Wow. Which is just like super helpful and super wanting to make sure that you've got everything, but they are computers and they don't understand what you're saying. Rather than this is an unfillable form. This is this wall of bureaucracies. No, this is a hedge of bureaucracy which you'll die in. And we had an awful lot of fun playing with that and sort of updating the thing. But yes, it is. we're not going to get into the real bureaucratic stuff until we hit the academia supplement. But at that point, I kind of want to hire a second lawyer. One who can write supplements.
A second
lawyer.
Well, we've got a lawyer for law stuff.
Grant, we played Paranoia as well, but you probably
I didn't get the memo. I'm sorry.
Power roll and Naomi.
I've been on that show.
Yeah,
good on Naomi.
Great, Naomi is fabulous. Great friend of ours, and the whole show. We have had another question. A lot of people, Neo says he can't wait for the Academia supplement. Yeah, so very much.
Neo, wait though. Like give it 2 years minimum.
There we go. Heard it from here. Now, hoping for another little sort of hot tip. We just had a question from T. Chambly. Who's new to the chat. Hello, welcome to the changing chat. They really love Pauline Chan's writing.
Yes.
They were so happy to see her return for Sin. Any hints on what she will be working on?
She's written the section on the Cathedral of Our Glorious Lady. Oh. So, like the one allowed drow religion in Spire, she's handled that, which is pretty cool. She's done some lovely work. Like we got every writer to define it by like holidays and rituals and rites and more sort of how the faith fits into everyday life, which you can one how the faith fits into everyday life, and then two how you can sort of leverage that into a fun revolution game. And Pauline has done a fantastic job. I'm always happy to work with her. She is an example of one of the writers who's never had a professional role-playing writing gig before us, but absolutely knocked it out of the park. So impressed with her grasp of the dramatic in terms of like small drama rather than big drama. Pauline did that beautifully, so we were more than happy to work with her again.
Fantastic. Nice. Well, we shall very much look forward to reading about that sort of in the book. And we have a final question. This is also from Matt. Second question: does Scott's fangirling on your systems make you uncomfortable?
Well, he's gotten increasingly negative over the last couple of minutes, where he was like, I guess we play Paranoia, but I don't know, was your name even on the front of the box? Grant Hewitt, is it? I don't know. I think Scott's been quite restrained, honestly.
I think actually, knowing Scott, he's a big fan, and he has been remarkably restrained. I've been very proud.
I shall return to Paizo only duties. I must remember, get flogged. It must say Paizo.
Thank you for that. And just to say, T. Chambly says, thank you for the answer. Lines in the Dirt is their favourite scenario.
Love this. How good is the midwife in that, T. Chambly? Oh, she's great. She's so exciting. Carry on.
Well, there we go. So, yeah. And Matt says he carved your name in his pencil case. He did. So that I'm not sure what he's, but Scott knows. I've seen Scott's face.
I've got no idea. I think that's how you create one of the small spare gods that
Scott Wilson Besgrove Howitt.
Big pencil case. Must have gone to a nice school.
It's a long.
Also, yeah, it's
got those 3-foot pencils in it.
I mean, I didn't carve anything in my pencil case. It would have ripped. Clearly, he had a sort of wooden Victorian pencil case. No.
A stone pencil case for learning.
3-foot pencils and massive sinews in my school.
It is. And so, return to Scott. So you have some questions. Make it positive.
Yeah, I'll tend to make it peppy, and I'll tend to get
posse. Yeah,
come on, liven it up.
So I will endorse Pathfinder if you need me to.
Thanks.
I love combat modifiers. I love working them out before I do a grapple. I've not played the new edition, lads. I'm really sorry. I don't know how it works. Okay,
that's okay. We just have to mute you now. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, we're burning every copy of this interview. So that's.
I will say, legit, I do like the Pathfinder SR. I think it's really good.
Every copy of this interview, James, you just say. It's kind
of I'm going to people's houses.
I'm going to print
it. I've been quietly faxing it. I'm a big fan of old technology. Yeah.
Roll it up in these long pencil cases and send it out to people.
Yeah, I shall burn all of my pencil cases.
All right, Scott, Posse questions. Let's go.
What have you learned from running a Kickstarter? Or what would be your tips for someone starting their first?
Okay, thank you. Yes. One of the problems I see all too often is people don't give people a way to give them more money than they deserve. It is like sort of, I guess, sorry, that was rather uncharitable. More money than, it's rather uncharitable against me, I want to stress, not this imaginary person. people want to support you if you're on Kickstarter. It's not like buying a book. It's very close to pre-ordering these days, but it's all tied up with terms of like, well, this thing doesn't exist. We want to help it exist. We want to support that. We want to sort of give other people the access to this. So you want to give people a way to support you over the odds. In Heart, we did it with we had the sort of a game, like a map, a hex map, and a sticker set, which we had beautifully designed. But not required to play the game, but added to the experience of playing the game. We put that on there, and if anyone was like, "This looks like fun," I want to give them more than just the core book, then they can do that. It is useful to have an upgraded base pledge level before you get into the crazy. We'll write you a game, we'll draw you a picture in the book or what have you. It's very useful to have a basic plus, because people who want to give you the money can.
And that wouldn't have been the first thing I'd have thought of to do a Kickstarter. So good tip.
Great tip. Yeah, really good.
Oh, my second tip is don't say, as I did on my first Kickstarter, I will write the book out by hand for you for £250.
How many did you get?
All four of the bastards, Scott.
Oh my God.
One of them, my own mother.
Oh.
Did she make you sit in the corner facing the wall while she did it? Just
facing your cigarette antlers.
Yeah. Some real Blair Witch shit. No, I wrote out the core book of Goblin Quest and illustrated it 3 times by hand. I cannot recommend it.
Crikey!
It was a fun joke, you know. It was. I think like people sort of. I think it inspired some other people to say, "Hey, this guy seems like a good egg. I'll give him some money." But no, terrible plan.
Fair enough. He set himself up for a fall. We made him take it 4 times. Give him some more money.
Yeah, go on.
I'll get the PDF. Yeah, sure.
Give him some more money for his knackered hand. Go on then.
Oh my God! I didn't get to keep them. I made 3 handwritten artifacts and gave them away.
At least you weren't doing it with 3-foot pencils, though.
That's true.
And what's my last bits? I just wanted to say the inspiration bits at the end of the book of Spire are cool. The writers you list, and also music as well, which is really good. After I played it for a while, all I could hear was "Devil Is Fine" by Zeal and Ardor, just round and round in my head for ages. I'll try and drop the link into our Discord so our fans can listen to it. Great. I Spotified that entire album after that for days. It was great. And finally, from me, what are you playing at the moment, if anything? Computer games, video games, TTRPGs?
What am I playing right now? I'm getting set up for a game of Brancolandia, which I want to run at some point soon, which is it was an Italian language first, translated into English, which is an Italian spaghetti fantasy. So everyone's kind of a bastard.
I think I've heard of this. It's got very
cool
ribald art.
Yeah. Very cool. Like it's almost got like, so it's aping kind of from what I can tell, an old-fashioned Italian movie making tradition. The closest thing we have is kind of like Carry On, but with fights in it. And like, I'm not a huge fan of Carry On. No, but it's fun about the jokes, isn't it? And so like having like some ribald humor, that's something I've been setting that up for. I think it's been like 3 months. I need to get that going. But most of my waking hours have been taken up by playing Fights in Tight Spaces, which is a game by Mike Biffle. It is a cross between it's a cross between Slay the Spire, because it's a turn-based card game, and also Enter the Breach, which is a wonderful game about sort of tactical positioning. That's about robot fighting. This is like, what if Enter the Breach had deck building elements in it, and most of the game was about getting enemies to kill each other, and that is so deeply my shit.
I have heard that was a different description than what I'd seen of Fights in Tight Spaces. Fights in Tight Spaces looks like it's advertised quite a sleek, glamorous, like that bit.
Oh yeah.
Where he's got to fight everyone in the lift kind of thing. Your description was interestingly different, and one I prefer that one.
Yeah, it was great in screenshots. Yeah. It looks tremendous in screenshots. Then you see it run, and it's like someone describing a fight in a role-playing game to you. But like tactically, it's gorgeous, absolutely wonderful.
Very, very good.
All right.
And sadly, that does bring to a close Dangerous Wednesdays. It has been absolutely terrific having you on, Grant. You have been a towering inferno of charisma and inspiration. And I, for one, want to go out and buy that Spire core book and the.
I want you to.
I know, I do, but I want a handwritten copy. What's the price on that?
God, gone up a wee bit, James.
I can tell you now, I can't afford it.
Sorry, just the last thing, just final thing. I know James is trying to run it up. I promised these people that I would ask you, Grant. And Grant, these are people you've played with before. I've been told to ask you.
Oh, yes. No, we do have some special pre-questions.
I can take 5 minutes.
I was told to ask you, these are people you've played with before in different play groups. It might not have been Spire, it might have been something else. But does he, this is someone else saying, does he remember killing my character by pizza tossing his penis with shadow magic? Do you remember this, Grant?
Yes. How could I forget that? How could I forget pulling a guy off so hard that he and then I died?
The other one was, does he remember healing my PC via BDSM suspension hooks?
Yes. Yes, Nixie. It was profoundly erotic.
So much to answer for, Howitt.
So much, but such a long memory, which is invaluable, I think. And
pencil case.
We are all going out to buy wooden pencil cases as we speak, so we can carve each other's names into them. But speaking of buying things, where can we go to get this? I mean, thank you, Steph, for putting the link into the Discord, but just for our audio listeners as well.
If you search Kickstarter for Sin, you will not find it. But if you search for maybe Sin Kickstarter Spire RPG, give Grant money now, I don't know what would work. Sin is the name of the supplement. You can go there, you can see all sorts of lovely pictures from Adrian Stone. You can also, if this is your first entry into Spire, we have ways of getting the core book and Sin cheaper than usual, or the whole Spire thing, the whole collection, and also any stretch goals we get at a discounted rate. I think the cheapest possible way to get all of Spire is to throw money at the everything Spire, and then the better that this Kickstarter does, the more we're in debt. Basically, the more we have to give you.
Yes.
But yes, please come along. I will also know we're not in debt. We're doing quite well. It's nice. If you're interested in urban fantasy and strangeness and telling your own stories in games and not being too tied down by canon, please come and take a look. And I promise you will find something that you like.
There we go. Yes, I'm interested in all of those things. And judging by the chat, everyone else is as well. And thank you so much, Grant, for coming along. It's been a pleasure. You're a gentleman and a true tour de force creatively. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you very much.
And it's goodbye from Scott, of course, the irrepressible fangirl that is the pencil case carving Scott Wilson-Besgrove.
Once more I unclip the stars to peel back the blanket of night, for me to slip erstwhile into, yea, the womb of the moon.
Good. And it's good night from me, James Foxy Lockhart, wishing you a pleasant Wednesday evening, or whichever evening it is if you're listening to this in post. And, of course, hoping that you all stay Wednesday. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
You're moving in the right direction. All you got to do is just keep on walking.
It's very wise words. Okay.
Did you say very wise birds?
No, I said very wise, Papa. Words. It was words.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, birds.
Just making sure, mate.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? We had a nice chat a couple of episodes ago. Just don't want to.
That's okay. No, I don't. But of course I would not. So I have just been a bird, and I can tell you it's very different. You have to think about flapping all the time.
Yeah. See, I don't think flap at all.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's the difference. I don't think flap. Birds do.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're not a flapper, you know.
What do you think instead of flap, Bobber?
I think a lot of things. Kill all birds.
Oh, what?
What?
Eat birds. I really like birds to eat. Do you know what I mean? It's weird.
I've just noticed who is this dead owl? What's going on?
Yeah, we're going to eat him later. I can't wait.